So I've always used filmmaking as a way to try new things and experiment with different styles. So when I was thinking of what video to make last week, I started thinking about what would really challenge me stylistically and force me to think outside the box. So I knew I wanted to make a narrative film because I haven't done it in a really long time, and believe it or not, it's actually what I grew up making. So this kind of all led to me asking the question, what is the most fundamental yet overlooked thing about film that without it could either be really cool and different or really boring and weird? Dialogue. It's something that we literally hear non-stop, whether we're watching something or even just being around another person. So I thought if you took that away, you could get some really interesting things. I'd also been really inspired recently by like old Western films and how to mess with the pacing to get some really effective cinematography. So basically this whole film is an excuse for me to work on skills and stuff that I really enjoy doing but I don't get to do all too often, like prop making. So I've got these little toy guns, which unfortunately aren't quite going to cut it for me because they don't exactly look super real, and they had this orange cap that I basically kind of took off with a knife, and at the moment it's only solid black. There's no weathering, it doesn't look metal. Basically what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use a combination of like sandpaper to try and rough it up and some like different paint. Just gives it a little bit of flavour and makes it appear more realistic. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and let's get on with it. So I've also just been scraping off some like logos and anything, basically anything that makes it look like it's a toy. So when it comes to sanding this, I was trying to think about like whereabouts on the handle would have, you know, the most contact with it. And then in those bits, I'm going to be sanding it more to make it look more realistic, because obviously if it's going to be sat in my hand here, this bit isn't going to be quite as, you know, worn down as somewhere like this or over here where the fingers are. So that's what I'm keeping in mind while sanding this down. I'm now going to try and give the wood handle a bit more of a realistic texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush some black paint onto it. It's just a light coat and it just basically gives it this nice bit of depth. Next up was to write the script, and then it was on to production. Sadly, however, we'd probably chosen the windiest day ever to film this, which kind of gave us a couple issues. So thanks to the wind, I basically couldn't use any of the original audio whatsoever, which gave me a much needed chance to work on my sound design, something that I think I've only done about once or twice before, except this time I wouldn't just be recreating a small section, I would have to recreate the entire video's sound. So being put in the position where I literally had to think from the point of view of a sound designer was really interesting, and it led to me doing a lot of things that I've never done before. So for each clip, I had to go through and figure out what was making sound in that clip, and then I would basically sit in my room and recreate that as best as I could. And in the end, I literally had a full version of the video that was just completely sound effects, because I had no music and I was just trying to make sure that all of the little sound effects sounded perfect. Some of the things I did was to represent the coin shaking in the bag. I actually got my wallet and just started like really lightly shaking it about depending on what movement I was making. That was the one. So overall, I had a bunch of fun doing this project. I learned a lot about pacing, I learned a lot about sound design and prop making. It's something that I'd really love to do more often because there's just something about it and it's just really enjoyable. So this was the last week of my weekly lockdown challenge. Honestly, I've just loved doing it. It's been a real big challenge to be consistently creative and think of something new for each week. So for everyone that's kind of watched from the beginning of the lockdown up until now, or people that have just kind of found it, thank you so much. It's been incredible to do, and by no means does this mean that I'm about to take a 7-month break from uploading. I probably won't upload next week because now school's starting back up, I'm going to be kind of swamped. So thank you guys so much, and I'm really looking forward to putting out new content. I've got some really exciting stuff coming up that I'm literally like so psyched about, so you've got that to look forward to. And if you're not already, then if you subscribe, that would be the best thing ever. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.